4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, party people! Darren's got 30 years in the game, knows every technique and every tool. But when he talks, he goes so deep. You blink, it's been 10 minutes. He's got knowledge, that's a fact, but forgets we want the fast track. He's not ignoring, he just cares. Sometimes forgets who's even there. That's where Sean steps up. Cliff Notes, master tech, savvy, slick. Together they flow, detail dream team. No fluff, no BS, just a clean stream. Thanks for tuning in, we see your name. Whether first time viewer or back again, we're here to teach, to chill, to grow. No BS, just the stuff you want to know. Subscribe to Auto Fetish Detail and shine like a pro AZ. Like, share, subscribe, that's your crew. The stream's for car care and people like you. We keep it honest. We keep
Okay, party people, here we have on your screen is ShineLikeaProAZ, which is Sean's channel on YouTube. So think of Sean's channel like this. He takes my long form content and he slices and dices and puts it through his magic machine and comes up with short form content. You can think of this like the Cliff Note version of my long form videos. He is streaming on that channel. And then there's me and my channel, Auto Fetish Detail. Most of the videos are what's considered long form, where I go into great detail.
That's it.
All right, very good. I think I picked up on the changes.
Yes. Hopefully
Yeah.
that was pretty obvious.
I guess if you wanted them to be obvious.
Yes. So I wanted to start up this couple announcements I wanted to make really quick to the live stream. And
Make them really slowly.
no, quickly. So anyways, I wanted to say that for you guys who are new here, thank you for joining us. And I see that every time we come into this live stream, I notice there's more and more people on here, which is great. But I also want to say that from this point moving forward, if you guys have any questions about janitorial, I've been doing it for 20 plus years. Some of you guys know that, some of you guys don't. Any questions at all, residential, commercial, feel free to ask away and I'll do my best to answer your questions if you want. It's an option. But anyways, moving on. Today's subject, Darren, and Darren knows what it is. We're going to be talking about DAs and rotaries. And I'm just going to go to the screen
Polishers, machine polishers in general.
Yes.
And specific.
Right. And if you guys have any questions while we're talking about this topic today, as always, don't be afraid. Jump in, ask away. It doesn't have to be about this. It can be about anything you guys want.
Yeah.
What
do you got there? What'd you pull up there, Sean?
So this is
like 10 best DA. I see that you've started with DA polishers versus rotary.
Yes, this is the most common. That's why. For
let me be specific. Most common in what industry?
I mean, like as far as auto detailers, most auto detailers feel more comfortable with a DA than a rotary.
Yes.
So.
But if you were to go into the professional, the production volume shops,
yeah,
they're going to use the Rotary.
Rotary. Yeah, like
Hey,
body
check it
shops.
out.
Yeah.
Janet Bishop is with us,
Yes.
and she likes the dances.
Hmm.
I think they are silly AF.
Hmm.
That is Sean.
Hmm.
That is Sean's creativity that is displayed there with our dancing.
Just trying my best to make us stand out from the competition on YouTube.
Yes, yes. So I'm curious, Sean, what was like? What made this subject come on your radar? Anything specific?
Yeah, it was from last live stream. A lot of people were asking about what's the best EA rotaries, so I figured why not talk more about it.
Yeah.
So
And I don't recall. Did you get very proficient behind a buffer yourself? I don't
yeah,
remember.
yeah, I did some. I didn't call it paint correction. Remember, I called it what the hell
Paint
did I call it?
enhancement.
Paint enhancement. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I didn't use any wet sanding. All I did was improve the
Overall
oh
appearance and
yeah, the
shine.
appearance. Yeah, which I did. I remember grabbing a black Maserati and made it look like the customer when he came out, he was blown away. Obviously, if you look with a freaking magnifying glass, you can see it's not amazing.
Yeah.
But like you said, from a visual perspective of most human beings, they'd
Yeah.
be like, "Holy crap! This looks like it looks like a car show."
Yeah. I call it normal viewing distances.
Yeah, it looked like
Which
a mirror.
is kind of funny because people want to scrutinize and everyone wants to be the backseat driver and talk about perfection and this and that, and customers themselves, where they get sucked into that wormhole based on emotion, like, oh, my car. And you never know when that car of a customer is suddenly going to be the center of their universe. It doesn't necessarily have to be a new car,
Right.
although that's one of the main reasons. Is like, yeah, you get a brand new car. You're obviously financially invested into it significantly, but you're very emotionally invested into it because it's new. It's the new factor. It's the honeymoon stage. And so they want to overthink everything. And experience has taught me, and just wisdom, is that phase eventually wanes. It dies down. It flickers out. But in the beginning, I get it. And so they will be like, oh, I want my car to be perfect. But I've also found very few detailers explain to them that, well, everything in life comes with trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
You're going to trade one benefit for another benefit. You just can't have everything with one decision. So the what I'm getting at when it comes to your paint is that if you understand what polishing is, how about this? How would you, and I'm putting you on the spot intentionally, and I accept that very few guys would actually be able to probably to explain this in a real clear way. But what is polishing? How would you
Uh,
define that? Like, let's say I was a customer, Sean.
yeah.
You've had them before, and a
Yeah.
customer says, oh, I want my car polished. And you know very well that most customers don't really understand polishing.
Right.
And it kind of goes right in line with paint
Well,
enhancement versus paint correction.
most customers think that polishing makes a car shiny.
And it does.
Well, yeah, but it's supposed to improve the, like you said, the overlook of the paint itself. So that way the sun when the sun hits it, because if it has all the webbing and stuff like that, it makes it look dull and crappy because
Yeah.
there's no clear coat. But then, yeah,
You know why it can look dull and crappy is because all
Clear
the
coat?
imperfections in the paint,
yeah,
they scatter the light.
yeah,
And so when the light gets scattered, rather than being refracted from a single point, it just looks, that's where you see the swirl marks and the spider webbing and the wash scratch, all the imperfections. So with that said is, let's say I'm a customer as we're playing this game here, and I say, oh, I don't like this look. You see what it's doing there, Sean? I don't like the way it looks that way. And you say, oh, well, it needs some polishing.
Well,
And I say, okay, I
wouldn't-
want it to be perfect.
yeah.
So what do you think would be the trade-off there?
Well, I've never told customers I'm going to polish it. I just tell them I'm going to enhance it. So I would
So
say,
you
well,
didn't even tell them you're going to use a
no,
buffer on it.
no. Well, yeah, I told you use a buffer, but I wouldn't say I was going to polish it. So I would say it's like, look,
What would you call it?
I would just call it, I can enhance your paint using
Yeah.
the many tools that I have in my bag, but I will never tell them exactly the process of how to do it.
I see.
Most customers that I had are not that they're idiots, but they don't want to know. I mean, like in
Well,
fact, in the
that's a
past,
valid point. It's a valid point, and I've also learned that is that very few. I mean, I have come across a lot of customers, and I would say that I am going to engage with the customer superficially with knowledge, and then their response will tell me how interested they are in learning. So if I can usually weigh in on that pretty quickly, because I have had some customers that are interested and they're intrigued. So when I start telling them and informing them and educating them, they're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. So for example, when it comes to polishing, there's essentially two types. There's chemically and then there's mechanically. So chemically is that you can have a polish type product that relies on chemicals to clean and refine the paint through just the polishing pad itself and a chemical product. But then, and that's what I would that's what
yeah,
I would label as paint enhancement, because you're refining the paint through that process, but it's really going to be temporary. So if you want more of a permanent fix, you're going to have to do it mechanically. Now,
yeah,
mechanically is where the difference comes in, is because you are using what is considered abrasive technology. Literally, you're sanding your way to perfection. And when you tell most people, you're like, oh, wait, sanding my way to perfection, that sounds a little scary.
yeah,
It's like, well, that's where polishing comes in. And based on my customer, whether it's a guy or a girl, I will use different comparisons. With women, I'll talk about their nails when they get their nails done and how they start out with aggressive sandpaper and then they go down,
and
or a
polish it. Yeah,
filing thing, and then they understand it. With men, I usually talk about wood, sanding wood. When you do the heavy lifting, the initial cutting or sanding, you're going to use more aggressive sandpaper. You're going to reduce it down to finer sandpaper. So they understand, like, oh, I get it. But when you apply that to the paint, and that's where the trade-off comes in, it's like, okay, if that really is true, which it is, that means the more I polish, the more I chase perfection, the thinner your clear coat will necessarily become, because you're using abrasive particles or abrasive product called a polish in order to refine the surface more and more and more. So there's a trade-off. And if customers understood that, which if you explain it to them, suddenly it's like, oh, wait a minute. Do I
yeah,
really want perfection, or do I really want what I consider a winning balance? What,
right.
Sean?
Okay, so what I was going to explain, because I had to think about it for a little bit, is that the reason why I didn't go into so much detail is because I had a different type of customer than you did. So my customers, because my business wasn't meant as you're like a high end detailer. I was more like a middle.
No, I understand
Yeah.
um,
And my
your
customers,
approach, which made sense based on your customer base. Yes,
yeah,
I
so
understand.
my customers, not that they're dumb, it's just that my prices were lower, right? And you're way lower than yours.
That's your word, by the way, not mine.
Yeah. Way lower than yours. And on top of that, I didn't have to do much to sell it to them. All I did was like I grabbed a flashlight, I shine in their paint. Like obviously it was not bright, so like in the garage.
Yeah,
And I was showing their paint and I was showing all the imperfections in the paint.
and showed
And
them
they'd
how
be
horrid their paint looked.
yeah, and they were in shock, right? And then I'd be like, look, what I'm gonna do is because this is I learned this from you. And every time I do it, I sell in the spot. So I tell them
Yeah,
like, what I'm gonna do for you is I'm gonna use my arsenal of tools that I have in my bag to enhance your paint. And by the time I'm done with it, it's gonna look around 60% better. Now, if you
yeah,
want perfection, you have to go to a body shop to get it painted.
yeah,
But if you wanted an improvement, and trust me, you will be obviously it's going to look better than 60%. But like you always said, you always want to undersell it, so that way when they come out, you can always go like, actually, you know what, I don't know how I did it, but I
yeah,
actually still do it by 80%. You know what I mean? They're like, whoa. So
yeah.
every time I did it,
Undersell and over deliver.
yes, every time I did it, I was got a 5-star review from every customer who did it for it, and they were blown away.
Yeah.
And that's the way I did it, and it worked. Every time it worked. It was the easiest sell within my opinion. In fact, I made a lot of money. And on top of that, the people like if you're new to auto detailing or trying to get into it, one of the best things in the world is when you like what Darren said. If you basically make it say like, look, we're gonna do the best we can for you. I don't make any promises, but I'm gonna do the best of the best. The customer comes out, they're so blown away. They think they're getting such an amazing deal. On top of that, you get a $200. Like the biggest tip I ever had was $200.
Yeah.
$200 tip on top of the $300 job.
I can tell you, I've never gotten a $200 tip.
Well, because your prices are way higher.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, so in the end, I was averaging, my tips were averaging between the lowest $50, but my average, my normal average was around $100 tip. Wow. What I was getting. So I was actually making. That's why my prices, I didn't care about prices too much, because with my tips, I mean, I never expected tips. I mean, it was just
which is interesting, because that, in many ways, it's like the same coin, but different sides. So for example, and this is what I taught my worker bees when they're working with me, is that my prices are not dependent on tips.
Yeah.
My prices are based on the value I can deliver.
Right.
So even if I didn't get a tip, I operated assuming that I would not get a tip. And I was there to over deliver to a reasonable amount, but over deliver to them based on the price I quoted them. But my price, I knew I was going to make money with the prices that I quoted them. So I was not reliant on tips in order to be profitable. Kind of like with servers, they call them nowadays, not waitresses, where they get minimum wage. And if they all had to do that job for minimum wage, no one would do it.
Right.
They rely on the tips in order to make that job worth it. So that's kind of how it sounds like you operated, is like, okay, I'm going to charge them, but as a rule, I know I'm going to get tips, and the tips is going to make, or it's going to make the job worth it for me, and that's going to make my profitability. Me, it was just the opposite, which is I'm going to bid it. I'm going to make sure I'm profitable based on the price I'm quoting them. If I get a tip, that's just bonus, like total bonus.
Well, I never expected tips. I just got them, but I got them every time. I never had even my cheapest. Actually, the cheapest customer I had in my life. I detailed 3 cars for him.
I know you talked about him before.
Yeah, and he tipped me $50. You're like, wow, that's pretty good. Not really. I was there like all freaking day. I was there I was there when the sun came out, and I left when the sun was going down. Yeah. So I was there for over 12 hours, and $50 tip is pretty shitty for detailing 3 cars. I left his cars and they were the worst condition. They're covered in bird crap. They're all black cars, of course, and they're the worst cars. Anyways, before we keep going, we need to go through the comments, because there's a lot of people on here.
Yeah, I see them picking up. So we got Dos Segundos. So welcome back, Dos Segundos. And Brian, welcome back. Hello. And there he is, Umberto. Welcome. Jimbo Slice, evening, gents. Right back at you, gentleman.
Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Jimbo. Wait, let me go back.
Go back. So much detailing content these days. We're spoiled. Good. We want to spoil you.
Yeah.
And I can interpret that a few ways. I do love to learn. You and me both, Jimbo. I like to stay curious. What's that Dos Equis commercial? Stay thirsty, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
The most interesting man in the world.
Right.
Which that's very, very debatable. But mine was stay curious, my friend. And I will always be curious. Let's see. On different countries, it is not acceptable to tip.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a cultural thing.
Yeah.
That is.
Australia is actually considered rude.
In Australia?
I went to Australia a long time ago, but I went there and we were at the bar, because over there it's 18 over a drink. I went there when I was 19.
Yeah.
And I got a beer, and I tipped the bartender, and because I was there with a friend of the family who was giving us a tour, and immediately grabbed him. He's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "I'm tipping the bartender." He's like, "No, don't do that here." I go, "Why not?" He's like, "Because it's considered offensive." I go, oh shit, okay, my
Yeah,
bad.
it's a trip. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't know.
Right.
And he's like, no worries. He's like, is that not common in America? I'm like, it's expected in America.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, shit,
It's
I
the
love
rule.
I'm like, I love Australia. It's so much cheaper. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, that was a long time ago.
Good
Uh,
eye, mate.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool place. So you would like it,
Ooh,
Darren.
check Jimbo. That's a direct quote from me. Inquiring minds need to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Yes, my mind is always inquiring, or I should say, my mind is always curious. My mouth is always inquiring.
You know what we should do, Darren, before we get up too much into the subject? We should
Yeah.
actually talk about the Rotaries and the DAs because they're right. That's the topic of today is already 20 minutes in. Oh, wait. There is also Frank Umberto.
Yeah, so big part of Europe, although that's not a big part of Europe. That's not all Europe, anyways.
Asia.
France and Estonia, we'd consider those in Spain, Europe, but Japan, that's part of the
That makes sense.
East.
Japan is
Yeah.
like they're very like polite country.
Yeah,
So
deeply rooted in what's the word I'm looking for? Man, societal norms, societal decorum. I'm not sure what to call that from thousands of years. Anyhow.
so what do you? Let's go through this list there, and you tell me yay, nay, or whatever.
Well, what website are you on, by the way? Because it says best DIY tool picks. You did DA polishers. What is this website? Because it's too small for me to see.
Yep, that's exactly what you just said. Best
So,
DIY,
but what is that's the website is DIY tool picks.
best DIY toolpicks.com. I didn't care about the website. I was just trying to find a quickly list of things. It's on the first page. So
That's funny. So, and is this the correct? Okay. How come that very top one has no rating next to it? The I can't quite read that. Chica.
Hachika or Hachika. We talked about that product last week.
Yeah, but why do I see no, like, for example, you've got the next two buffers and
Yeah.
the next one has a 10 and the other next one
because
has a 9.7.
that's a sponsored ad. That's not a that's an Amazon ad.
Oh gosh.
So that's why
So
let me go like this.
so
Yeah, there you go.
scroll to,
So I'll go like this.
and why does it start with number 2? Do we know? Is this
No,
going to
it
keep us in
starts-
suspense?
It starts at number 1. Look at the top. It says Chemical Guys number 1.
Oh, I thought that was part of the ads.
No, the ad is up here. So it's sponsored.
I see.
It's separate from sponsor. It says number 1 winner.
It's a little small on my screen, even though
All
I've
right.
got this pretty big monitor. All right, so
Let me-
Chemical Guys, I'm going to say right now,
I'll
fail.
I'll zoom in for you.
Yeah, I'm just going to say fail right there because there's no way that one from Chemical Guys would be number 1.
Exactly.
I own one of those. It's the Torx.
I have one too.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
And I wouldn't say it's necessarily garbage. It's
Whoa.
just so awkward because it's just a cheap buffer. Yeah, it works, but it's just a cheap buffer, plain and simple. Yeah, the ergonomics are nothing special at all. It's really just a tube with a polishing head attached to it, and it's digital. So it goes completely counterintuitive compared to virtually every other buffer on the market. That's what I find so kind of ironic. Like, why does Chemical Guys still push this buffer? Like, no buffer has a digital thing. And when I say that, I bet most people, unless they've used this, don't even know what that means. So, for example, there's just no direct trigger on-off switch. You have to press this button and there's 2 buttons. It's a plus and a minus. So in order for the machine to start, you have to press the plus button and it automatically starts at like a 20% power capacity. And you press it again and it ramps up to 40%, then 60, 80, and 100%. And then to ease off of the power, you have to press the negative button. So it's just counterintuitive. Never mind, it's just not that powerful. So it's funny, this website.
Jimbo Slice just made a comment about that before you give.
Chemical Guys is for weekenders. Fine. Yeah, pretty much.
Like weekend warriors?
Yeah, driveway detailers, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, the buffer does work. And I, even on my own websites, I say, you know what? My goal, if you were on my website, because I accept that if you're at my website, you're probably going to be a beginner, especially if you're clicking on my pages about buffing. And so 95% of the people viewing those pages at my website are going to be beginners. So I know how it works, which is they're going to overthink it. Like, oh, I want the best buffer. Oh, wait, except I don't have much money and I don't want to spend a fortune on a buffer. It's like, exactly. Especially because you have no idea how willing you're going to be to buff a car. Because if you've never buffed a car, you have no idea how much work it actually is. Never mind, you're going to be afraid to do too much polishing on your paint because you're going to be worried about messing up your paint. Therefore, the point is don't overthink it at the beginning. Just buy a buffer. This one is good. It's good enough for a beginner because it works and it's not very expensive. Because if you embrace buffing and you realize, oh my gosh, this is cool, I love what I can do with the paint, you're going to end up buying a new buffer anyways because you're going to want something better. But the point is you're never going to know that until you try it. So I just wanted them to just commit, not break the bank, buy something simple and basic and very affordable. And so that buffer worked. And part of why I recommended that buffer is because chemical guys would pair up with polishes and pads. So you're not having to shop individually to source all the things that you need in order to polish your car. So that's why I would recommend that buffer.
Umberto, go ahead.
Once again, you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
Chemical guys just pay a lot for those advertisements, so they show up as first, which is probably a valid point. Like that's where I'm going to be skeptical of this website. Like literally, how did chemical guys, because no one that knows buffers would ever put that buffer in position number one.
That's the point.
Ever.
That's the reason why I picked this, Darren, because
I know you wanted to shoot holes in the industry and all the bad information out there.
Yes. So what I wanted to do was basically show. I just typed in best DA polishers in 2025,
which should cut you off because you just said the key word in this moment, which we already addressed, which is DA buffers. So look at buffer number 2.
I know it's a Rotary.
It's a Rotary.
I know, but that's the point. That's
so it's number 3. Yeah. So this website is just horrid.
I understand it, but that's what I'm trying to point out.
No, I know. I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
I'm agreeing. I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying, yes, this is part of the problem. You have websites like this that they can't even themselves know the difference between a rotary polisher buffer, call it whatever you want, and a dual action buffer. Right. I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh. Like if I'm a beginner, I'd be so confused. Like, wait a minute. Like, so for example, and I'm a big fan of Milwaukee. I'll just put that out there since it's number 2. So Milwaukee, fuel lithium, brushes cordless, variable speed polisher. Okay, right there. See, it calls it a variable speed polisher. So if I was a beginner, I would be instantly confused because, wait, this page says it's the top 10 DA buffers.
Yeah.
This is now saying a variable speed polisher. So as a true beginner, instantly I'm going to be like, wait a minute, is there a difference between a buffer and a polisher?
Yeah.
And if there is, what is it? And this page says it's DA buffers. Am I quoting that correctly? Go to the top.
Yep.
Okay, no, I'm not. Actually says DA polishers.
Yeah, but it's still it's misleading.
Well,
because it's DA.
But the point is the term polishers and buffers are interchangeable. There is no hard rule as to what there's no industry standard on that. So you could have a polisher that's also a buffer. Every guy is going to use his own terminology is the point. So this industry is not clear on that. So there's no consistency. There's no standard on that. But if you're a beginner, it gets confusing because every sector of life, every sector of business has what it's called its own nomenclature. Hey, there's the college word for the day, nomenclature. I'll dumb it down a little bit. Every industry has its own lingo, right?
Yeah.
So there's no standardization. So for example, do you want to buff your car or do you want to polish your car? I want to do both. Nope, got to pick one. Which do you want to do? Well, I want to buff my car. It's like, oh, well, it's the same thing. All right.
Yeah.
So, but with that said, is you're never going to find a a buffing. You're like, what does that mean? Okay, well, you can find a polish, right? You can buy a polish, right, to polish your car with. You're going to need a polish of some kind, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to use a buffer, but you're never going to have a product that's called buffing, kind of like polish.
Right.
Meaning the terms are they're verbs, they're nouns.
They're meant to confuse you. That's what it is. It's just
Well, the industry wants you confused. That's one of their main tools of weapon. Their weapon of choice is to keep you ignorant, and therefore they can leverage your ignorance in order to sell you more and more products.
I just
Kind
want.
of like, go ahead.
I just want to say, like, I think it's hilarious that not too long ago I had a comment on YouTube. Someone says, "Oh, you're just here to get branded and get all these companies so you can make a lot of money." I said quite the opposite. We actually our
We are rolling in the money.
Yeah, we not only do we make nothing. I told him, but I said because I told him you and I make nothing. I said the other thing is like we are the opposite.
That's not entirely true, by the way.
Okay, well I don't make anything.
You don't make any money.
Yeah, yeah.
I make like a ridiculous, stupid amount of money,
Okay.
as in
Whoa.
a bad way.
Okay.
As
What I
in
meant to
almost
say-
no money for the content on my channel.
Okay, but what I was trying to point out is to him
Yes.
was that we are the opposite of what advertisers want. So we don't speak highly of product. We basically speak the truth. And
Yeah.
most companies are going to look at us and be like, "Hell no, I don't want this guy to, talking about our product."
Right.
So, anyways,
Because they might reveal the flaws in my product.
yes, yeah. So we are the opposite. But anyways, I want to go back to the comments because they're filling up again.
Yeah. So Jimbo Slice, I bought the Griot's G9, which I own one myself. It was on sale, got a pretty solid review. Some professional details use it. I don't need a Flex or Rupes out the gate. I agree. And honestly, I think Griot's G9 was my first dual action polisher because I grew up on a Rotary. I think they had the Porter cable dual action when I first started, but once again, as I've said many times, that was prior to the internet, so I didn't really know about it. But I knew about the Rotary, and that's what I had to learn on. So that's what I used for years. But I think the Griot's G9, and mine was the old version. It doesn't even exist. Like this one looks like this looks high tech compared to the like rudimentary version I used. Anyhow.
Is Umberto's next?
Yeah, better buying a Griot's Garage G9. Pull up a G8 for me, Sean. Griot's G8. Then a Rupes. Rupes, you drop it accidentally, it won't turn on. You know what? I had a brand new Rupes. It was a 15-inch, and literally that thing stopped working. And I don't remember dropping it even. It was really aggravating.
Is it a mini?
No, that's not. I certainly don't have that one. I was just curious between the G8 and the G9 what the differences are. So the one I have of the no, it's just mine's just too old. It's totally outdated. They've redone it, but it was their entry level buffer, and I've used it in a few videos. You can see me using it in a few videos. One, for example, I'm working in the direct sun and I'm sanding the
here we go.
Trunk.
Oh, that was a mini. Go, I'm sorry, there.
Yeah. I'm sanding the trunk of a Mercedes, and I sand it and then I polish it out. Griot's and Flex, they continue working. Yep. I'm probably going to buy a Flex PXE for the headlights when I get some dollars from a few jobs. Pull up a Flex PXE. I'm curious. I'm not familiar with that exact model. PXE. Flex. Why? Maybe if you were on Amazon, it would pull them up quicker. Okay, so it's a battery operated. I know we discussed that last week. Looks like it's I'm wondering if that's just a small rotary or if that's still a dual action. There's nothing, there's no way I'm going to be able to read that product description. That's too small on my
I
screen.
know. I'm looking right now.
Yeah.
This is really
Because
strange.
the way I'm seeing those, like the mandrels on those, it kind of, and the pads and sand, it kind of suggests it's just a small, basically grinder, like a
Oh, it says
rotary.
it says rotary.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, which
Yeah.
is perfect for, doing the headlight jobs, especially when you're just using it to sand off all that oxidation and clear coat. The cordless one, yeah. That will be handy. $400. That seems pretty good. Nomenclature, yes. Of course, Umberto would know. I grew up on a rotary port cable, and then first DA was the Chemical Guys 6 from Griot's Garage. Or wait,
No, the GG6. He said Grill's Garage. Grill Garage.
oh, that's a double G. I don't know why
Right.
my eyes. That's funny.
Yeah.
My eyes were not
You
auto correcting; they were distorting it.
need glasses like me.
Well,
They're reading glasses, so I have my eyes are perfect.
I can see it perfectly. I don't know why my mind did that
Yeah.
because I was thinking of anyhow. So Griot's Garage 6, which probably suggests it's a 6-inch dual action versus a 6.5 or 7. It's probably going to have more numbers and letters than just a 6.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyhow, it's probably just their smaller
Yeah, we can move
short
on.
throw. It's a workhorse, yes. G8, I have one also. I have one too. PXE80, yay. That's what we were just looking at, right? Yes.
Yeah.
G6 was the first generation, G9, the second one. Okay, yeah. It's rotary and DA chokes. Chocks?
Shocks.
I think he said choke. I think he meant
Chocks.
chokes probably. Can do both. It's a small rotary. Yeah. I'm not familiar with it, but it looks like it. I think a 3-inch throw and a 12. I have the small Rupes dual action. It's corded, and I use it for the emblem removals because typically for the emblem removals, I'm working in kind of tighter spots on the car, and I'm only concerned with polishing the area in which I'm worked on with the emblems. So I'm not worried about polishing big, massive areas, but that's very, very convenient to have a small rotary or a small polisher like that.
Here's a question.
I'm starting to do some jobs for neighbors and family. It's starting to spiral a bit. I'm getting more word of mouth jobs. Do you discount for friends? No. Trust me, the struggle is real and it's significant because it's like, ooh, the friend discount.
Yeah.
My simple answer is just no. For
Well,
one,
unless go ahead. Go ahead. No,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, for one, man, I could debate this on a lot of ways. And my simple answer, once again, is just no. And I guess I'll just add maybe a couple points. And part of why I'm hesitating is because with friends and family, if they want a discount, because it's a two-way street. So for example, if you're just starting out and you're trying to get business, you want business. And so you kind of want to incentivize people by saying, "Oh yeah, I'll give you a friends and family discount." Well, anyone that's going to sign up to that, they're probably never going to come back to you because they're doing it, A, to help you out at the beginning, and B, because you're giving them a discount. So my point is like, I don't know, if you
All
really
right.
want the experience, are they really going to go around and tell a bunch of people what a fabulous job they did? Yeah, they might mention it, but I'm of the opinion that people literally do not sit around and talk about getting their car detailed. Like, I don't know, it's a trip.
Well, the only thing I would discount would be like maintenance. So like let's say
Why
they,
maintenance?
because then they're always going to come back. They're always going to need their car detailed. So you say, look, If it's friends and family, so that's what I did, and it got me more business. And the other thing I did was, but again, my detailing company was different than yours,
Yeah.
and mine was about quantity over, you know, you detail less cars than I did. I did more.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is I did it more for YouTube. So if you start a YouTube channel, then and you need more cars, then yeah, do it.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I wouldn't like the 5 finger discount. I wouldn't and I wouldn't give discounts. What I did is I added stuff for free. I wouldn't be free like little things. Like I would did like
Yeah.
I'm gonna enhance your paint with some like a quick
It was
enhancement.
it was it was small ways to over deliver.
Yeah, so they think they're getting an amazing deal, but in reality, it's something very minor that makes them believe they're getting an amazing deal when in reality they're not. So
Well, it's not that they're not getting an amazing deal because everyone's going to value things differently. What you're doing is you're just leveraging add-on services that are very impactful, but it doesn't require a whole lot of extra work on your part. So I would never label it as like, oh, they think they're getting an amazing deal, but they're not. It's like, well, if they think they are, then they are,
yeah,
and just because it didn't take you an extra 30 minutes to produce some higher level of service doesn't mean it's still not amazing. What you're doing is you're just leveraging um, add-on services that make a big impact but don't require a huge amount of effort on your part.
you
Would
could
that
tell them
be a fair statement?
yes, and the other thing you could tell them, you can say like, look, because you're a friend or family member, I'm gonna take extra not precaution, but I'm gonna make more. I'm gonna give it more attention to your vehicle because I know you. So I'm gonna spend more time on it, which adds more value, and blah 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 blah. So
What I probably would do is if you're weighing in on that, and that's Jimbo Slice that's weighing in on that, right? Yes, it is.
yeah, yeah,
So Jimbo, what I'd probably do is I would ask for something in return in advance, meaning this. Okay, you know what? Let's pretend it's a family member. And a lot of it has to do with them engaging you or you reaching out to them, because that alone makes the difference in the world. Because if they're coming to you because they want something, then you have the upper hand in that negotiation. But if you're approaching them and saying, hey, I'm trying to grow my business, you're a family member, you're a friend, whatever, I am giving a better price for family and friends. Now you're not in the winning position on that. So what I would do is I would say, hey, you're a family. I'm trying to grow my business. I'm thinking you can help me, I can help you. You want a great detail job, I can do that for you. You can help me grow my business. You're going to give me some business
yeah,
by
true.
doing your car, but I want 3 referrals or 3 names of people you think might be interested. Assuming that I do a good job for you, could you provide me 3 names that I could contact them? So you're not just giving your stuff away for free. See, the problem is when you make something so available, it's and so easy, which is what you're doing when you're discounting your price, is you're automatically devaluing what you bring to the table. So what's the quote? That which is given free is esteemed not. I don't know who said that original quote, but that's the problem, and it's just human nature. It's just understanding human psychology. So if you give something away for free, and I'm not saying that that's what you're doing, but at what point could you then label it as free? Like, oh, let's say I normally charge $200. I'm going to give you a discount, and now it's only 150 because you're a family and friend. Well, you've just gotten closer to it being free. So relatively speaking, you're devaluing what you bring to the table. So that's where you can offset that by asking for something in addition to their money. Like, okay, I'm giving you a discount, but what I want and I would actually ask for, when I taught guys, I would tell them 3 things. This is what you tell the customer, your family and friend. I want 3 things from you if I do a good job and you're happy with it for a discounted price. I want a written testimonial from you talking about the service that I provided you the results I performed on your car. You can pick one or two things. I want you to write it down. So when they do that, then you not only have a written version of it that you can then use it maybe on your website if you have one,
Google.
show it to other people if you have one. Or once they do that, then the next step is that you, and you don't say this at the beginning, you just do it after the fact when they present that with you and say, hey, you've already written this up and this is great. Thank you very much. Could you take 2 minutes and now post this on a Google review? You've already written it up. They've already done the hard work. So it's a way to push it even further. But so you ask for a testimonial, you say, I want to get some before and after pictures. And then third is you want 3 referrals of people they know that have cars. They must have a car that I can contact and use you as a reference. That way you're giving your service away at a discount, but you're actually asking for something else in return for them, not just a discounted price. I hope that is making sense to you, but that's what I would teach my beginners when I'm teaching them and some of the steps they can take when they're trying to grow their business.
Do you want to go there back to the list really quick and just
the list?
Yeah,
the buffer list.
I just want to go through it quickly because I still want to talk about the other list I told you earlier about.
Yeah. Okay. Well. So far, this list has just failed miserably.
That's okay.
And
but
based on what
see...
Umberto pointed out, it's probably, they're probably getting some kind of back end. Although I'm skeptical of that, I doubt Milwaukee's going to say like, oh yeah, we'll pay you X amount of dollars if he shows his number 2, even though you're talking about DA buffers and we've got a Rotary up there.
This is what I think. I don't think this person has tested any of these tools out. I think he or she went on Amazon or popular sites and saw what's the most popular sites, and they probably based off that. That's just what I think. But anyways,
I agree with that.
I want to go through a list, all 10 of them, and then I can go to the next one.
All right. So number 3 is the DeWalt to Rotary. Once again, fail. I love that Rotary polisher, but it's not a DA.
Right.
Number 4 is Max Shine, which I like Max Shine. I think they make pretty decent buffers for the money they charge.
Right.
So, okay, number 4, I'll give them number 4. Number 5 is Adams Polishes. Once again, they make pretty good products and pretty good buffers, and I've got no problem with them. So number 5 works for me. Number 6, I've never even heard of them. And
I think it sounds like a Chinese company. I don't know.
Aoben.
I don't know. Maybe Umberto knows what they are.
Yeah. So who the hell knows? Okay. Number 6, whatever. Number 7, DeWalt. Here we are. I didn't even know DeWalt makes a random orbital polisher. That's funny. I literally did not know that. It's a cordless polisher. So there's their battery operated dual action. They don't call it a dual action. They just call it a random orbit.
Right.
So, okay, cool. Number 7. Number 8, Max Shine. Yes, again. It's just another Max Shine product. It's
a mini one.
Yeah, it looks like a mini one, but there's nothing in the verbiage.
It does. It says professional mini cordless polisher.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. Yes, correct. Mini.
Okay. Number 9.
SP. I have heard of SPTA, but I don't know. I can't comment on it.
All right.
And then number 10, Griot's Garage, which is the G9, which we've talked about quite a bit here today. So, yes, I would not put those in that order. That's for certain.
Before I go to the other site, we have another question.
All right, pop it up. What about one-time introductory discounts or coupons? I put that the same, meaning if you listen to the full discussion, Dos Segundos, I would say the same thing about that. One-time introductory. I mean, they definitely work. The problem is they also work in attracting price shopper type of people.
Yeah,
and I get it. It's a tough balance act because when you are at the beginning, you're desperate for work. You want to grow your business. So in that context, honestly, only you can decide that. You just need to understand what you're signing on to, which is you are going to attract the price shoppers of the world. And as a rule, those people tend to be the pain in the butt type of customers. Not always, but that's just the trade-off that you're making. So I would say directly to your question, dos segundos, it's not a hard yes or hard no. It's just that you need to understand the nature of the beast of doing a one-time discount or coupon. Like if you're familiar with Groupon,
Yeah. Okay. No,
oh
don't
my
don't don't
gosh,
don't
like
use that. Don't use it.
you are just attracting every price
Cheapskate.
shopper in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah. Well, cheapskates.
Yeah, so it's tough. Once again, as a beginner, I get it. I was there. I totally get it.
Yeah. Can I say something real quick there that I
Yeah.
learned from you? So when I first started out, I mean, obviously, I was lucky. I did help. Darren helped me out. Darren did give me a couple customers. Remember that, Darren?
Yeah.
But I did also get customers of my own. And in the beginning, I had some good customers, but also some really cheapskates. And one of the cheapskates I had, no offense towards, he's Vietnamese, so I'm not saying that all Vietnamese people are cheap, but
But it's a
vast,
cultural thing.
yeah, vast
Once again,
majority,
and
yeah,
we've identified this. There is a cultural thing because when you come from a third world country,
yeah,
guess what? Things are tight. You come to America and suddenly it's like, "Hey, wow, land of opportunity, a land of more wealth." And so, but they bring their cultural ideals with them, and that is why. And part of, because I'm of the pain, boy, we're going to go down the psychological hole
well,
for a moment
I,
here.
I also before you jump into that, I just want to say real quick. So, um, not all Vietnamese people are cheap, but the vast majority ones that I had were cheapskates. But since I was new and I was trying to make, get a name for myself and get those reviews, I was willing to accept that it's gonna suck. Like I'm gonna go out there, it's gonna suck big time. I'm gonna be killing myself. And then at the end of the day, the good news is now you have a 5-star review on Google, and you have pictures you can use to advertise, which is what
Yeah.
I did. But guess what I did afterwards? I blacklisted that customer. I never again went back to do any work for them, even though they offered. I was like, oh, I'm really busy right now. I'm on a 1 month waiting list. I can put you in the list, but I don't know when I'm gonna be able to get to you. Obviously, it's all BS. I don't want to tell them to go fuck themselves, but at the same time, I also don't want to work for them again or
Yeah.
work. So that's what I did, and so you can do that if you want to. So like if you get a cheap customer, just know you're the owner of your own business. You don't have to go back and wash a car ever again or detail it again.
Or you could learn how to, if you truly have the skill set and you can deliver value and you feel confident that your prices are based on the value that you can deliver, you can learn how to talk and communicate to customers so that you don't actually have to give them a discount. Because it's the ability to work from a non-desperation mode,
Yeah,
which is, hey, you know what? So for example, if you have a customer on the phone or even in person and they're trying to work you on the price somehow, like, oh really, that's, wow, $200, that's a lot.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, you know what, it is a lot, but I also know that I deliver a lot with my service. And so I would just be very candid with people and just in their face with honesty, which is, you know what, it is a lot, but I also know that I deliver a lot and I could actually help you find someone cheaper. But chances are, like anything else in life, you get what you pay for. And I don't have a problem with you shopping around and maybe finding something cheaper.
right.
But I can just tell you that in my personal experience, when I've gone the cheap route, I'm typically disappointed. And so when you are that honest and direct with people, it's amazing. And once again, a psychology enters the picture almost immediately because we as people, we are hardwired to want what we can't have. And this is why supply and demand works. So when you start instantly decreasing the supply, which is by you pulling away because you're not working out of desperation, and you say, you know what? Yeah, $200 is a lot, but that's what I charge and I deliver a lot for that $200. You're not telling the customer that you're desperate because you're not saying, oh, okay, well, tell you what, how about if I charge you $180? Because now you're bowing to them, you're catering to them, and now what you're doing is you're increasing the supply, and once you increase the supply, the demand goes down and the price goes, or the price follows with it, which is now you've just diluted the value that you bring. Therefore, you can't charge as much. But if you hold firm to your price, and what you're doing is you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm not for everyone. That is you decreasing the supply. When you decrease the supply, the demand goes up, and suddenly these people are willing to pay your price because you can talk to them with confidence.
Yeah, and I can speak on that because when I first started, I was really nervous, and people immediately could tell, and they took advantage of that.
Yeah,
And what you have to do is you have to pretend like you're the best detailer in the world. You have to go in there and be like, I am the best. I know what I'm doing. Like Darren said, be confident. And when people talk to you, talk to them like you're not desperate to detail a car. Like you have hundreds of cars to do,
yeah,
and you don't want them wasting your time. So you want to go in there. You want the business, but if they're gonna be like complete cheapskates, then you have to decide. Like you, Darren, you told me before, because I asked you this question before, and you say you have to decide, is it worth your time? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Only each individual has to make that decision on their own. I can just tell you that. And once again, it is tough because at the beginning you actually are kind of desperate. You do
Yeah,
want the business,
yeah.
but it's just a slippery slope, and you just start giving your um, service away at a discounted price, and you set it up at an imbalanced way, not in your favor.
Another thing too that I used to do with really like super cheapskates that actually worked for me really well. Once I explained to them, they're like, because a lot of these people have never owned a business. They're like working people. They don't understand how business works. I remember this one cheapskate I had. It wasn't Vietnamese. It was a white lady, and she's like, I think it was a Honda Accord, and I charged her 250. The car is nasty. I thought it was cheap for a full detail inside out, clay
Yeah,
and everything. And she's like, "Wow, it's really expensive. Like, I can go to the car wash and get it done for $50." I go, "Yeah, you could." But I told her like, "Here's the thing. Like, I don't know if you understand. Like, the 250. I don't just take the 250 and go home. That's what I make. That pays for my insurance, pays for my gas, it pays for my tools, pays for my chemicals. After I do all this stuff, the time it takes on this, I'm not making 250. I'm paying taxes. I'm gonna be making half that or not even that. But anyways, once I explained to her like how deep business works, she's like, oh, I didn't understand. She didn't know that that's what it took. Like a lot of people are idiots. They don't understand. And
yeah,
once I explained it to her, like, she's like, okay. And I said, look, at the end of the day, you're gonna be happy. If you definitely can go to the local car wash, they're gonna do a terrible job. Or you can get me or someone else. And
yeah,
then she went with me, and then at the end of the day, not only was she happy, but I went back and did her car multiple times.
yeah.
So, anyways, we go next question because we're running low on time.
Yeah. How do you deal with add-ons that people think should be included that's not
Mhm.
included? I have to pay extra for that. Stuff like trim restoration or iron removal clay. You know what? I can't say that I've really had a problem with that. I know what you mean. And honestly, that's where I would give my stuff away, because I just loved knowing what I could do to a car, and knowing that it could make such a difference, that I just loved the outcome. And so often, like, let's say I'm doing a job, and let's say they got some black trim on it, and I know how much better I can make it look, but it's still going to require some, some, even if it's only 20 minutes, that's still 20 minutes. That's
Yeah.
20 minutes of your life you're never going to get back again. And are you willing to give away that 20 minutes? Never mind any money that you have into a black trim restoration product. They're not particularly cheap, for good ones. So I understand what you're saying, but that's where communication really is king. You've got to communicate what you're doing, which also includes what you're not doing. I've never had really anyone that said, "Oh, wait, you mean you're not going to polish my paint?
Mhm.
You mean you're not going to do a two-step paint correction on my paint? You mean you're not going to do the engine? You mean you're not going to clean inside the wheel barrels?
You're not gonna
You
restore
mean
my you're not gonna restore my headlights for free?
Yeah. So I personally have never had that problem, Jimbo. Maybe you have. Like most of my customers would have no idea what iron removal even means. Most of them don't even know what the clay bar is. They've maybe heard of it, but they really have no idea what the process is, why it is what it is, why you do it. So I guess my simple answer would be it's all about communication. You got to make sure that you manage their expectations, and you can't manage expectations that you don't know what they are, which is why communication is king. You're telling them what you are going to do. And if you're not telling them what you're doing, then that suggests that if there's something else, you're not doing it.
Yeah.
So if you've listed off everything you're going to do, and in their head, it's like, wait, what about this? Well, if I didn't list it, that means I'm not doing it. Now, I would take it further so that, and I would ask them questions so that I knew that the two of us were on the same page. So that's where you just, I mean, I would say that communication skills are more important than your actual detailing skills. Yes, you can still detail a car and not have very good communication skills, but they're so critical. I've heard all of them, even SPTA, and they work good. Yeah, I'm sure they all work just fine. People want everything for nothing. As a rule, we are. We're all cheap
Yeah.
naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no mystery there. It's like, well, can I get it cheaper? And I mean, I'm actually one of those guys. Often I will just ask because what's the worst they can say is no. Okay, but I asked, and some people play along and some people don't. But I've never been the grinder type, like, oh, I can get it cheaper, because I don't consider myself a cheap ass. I consider myself very frugal, but I'm not cheap. Fein Lab also has a polisher and it's smooth. DIY Detail has 4 polishers, and with both corded and cord free, they work smoothly with low vibration and low sound. I've not tried any of those, but I am familiar with them. That's why you like clearly what you have is a package. Don't create a list of packages like going to cheesecake.
Yeah.
That is a good comparison, Berto. Oh my God. It's like their menu. It's like an encyclopedia. I mean, it's just, I would hate to be a chef at that place. Shoot, I would hate to be the manager that has to source all these ingredients for their list, their variety is just so comprehensive.
Actually, because of you, Darren, I created my packages based off in and out. So I only had 3.
Keep it simple. Yeah.
Yep. And it was easy, and that was
Yeah.
it. So
How many add-ons are too many? When does it get overwhelming for people if they just want their car clean? Well, there is a thing. There's different things they call it marketing. Kind of like when you see too many ads on a single page of a website. It's called ad blindness, and it's kind of ironic because everyone's there trying to get your attention, but you're so overwhelmed with attention grabbing ads that you just your brain shuts off. So it's with add-ons. Like I would never in my pricing structure list too many ads. I mean, if you were to go to my page, I do actually list different add-ons that they can sign on to, which at a level is kind of contradictory to what I'm saying. Um, but see, that's where I'm going to understand the nuances of people that find me via my website, or people that find me through, let's say, a Google ad, as in like I'm paying for a keyword and I populate in the top three position, or people that find me face to face, like let's say I'm working and they stop, or people that find me because they're a referral from someone. So I adjust my campaign based on where this person's coming from. So when I write my page on my website, I'm I'm writing it for the people that are there trying to do their due diligence. So a lot of people will just see my page and say like, oh, well, there's a phone number. I'm just going to call them and ask them how much, which is why if someone's calling me, I'm going to say, oh, how did you find me? Oh, I got your name off your website. Okay, cool. did you go to my pricing page and see the services that I provide and what I charge? No, I didn't get that far. Okay, now I know I've got someone that really is probably a price shopper, because I've got all my information there. If they didn't even have the ability to make one more click to go to my pricing page, which is very easy to find, then I know that they're probably just a price shopper. They just want me to give them a price and then move on if it's not the price that they want.
Yeah.
So on my pricing page, I actually go into pretty good detail as to what I charge or what I do. And then I have it separated based on the size of the vehicle. And then I have add-ons, for example, like if your car is black, it's going to cost this much more. So I do go into pretty good detail, but see, that's part of my filtering process. Is one, if someone's not even going to look at it, they're already communicating to me that they're kind of lazy and they're probably going to be a price shopper. But when I have people that show up at that page and they read through it, because I'm educating them in that process. They're like, oh my gosh, this guy really is he's very detailed. He's telling me exactly what he does, what he doesn't do. He's giving me some options here, and they put in that due diligence. It was very common for me to get a customer that says, oh yes, I saw your page, Darren. I read through it. I'm okay with your prices. I already know that you want me to get my car washed in advance. I already know you take cash only. It's like, yes, you are the perfect customer, because I just set up my filtration system and this person made it all the way through, and that represents the perfect customer in my world. So I know it's a complicated answer, but that's how I did it. How do you see a clean car at Jimbo Slice? Interiors is a different charge from exteriors, trim restoration different. Yeah, that's a good point. And that's part of why it's not so much that add-ons can be too much. It's just, once again, who is your audience and how is your audience finding about your add-ons? Are you trying to tell them verbally? Do you have a website that you've built that they can go to, or you can refer people to so they can do their due diligence? So anyhow, let's see, and check the other different established detailers offer for you based for your offering. So yeah, compare numbers to your competition in the area. If you're going to polish a vehicle, you already know decontamination is included. Well, yes and no. I know plenty of detailers that will just polish their car and try to polish through all the contaminants stuck to the paint.
I think he means clay barring. So I always
I know what he means. I'm just saying is that
Yeah.
any professional is going to accept, like, yes, you should clay bar the paint first
Yeah.
before you polish it. But I'm just saying is, back in the day, especially when rotaries, every detailer was using a rotary if they were polishing, because that's all we had.
Yeah.
They would just buff through and try to basically smooth out the paint with the polisher and the polishing compound. So they didn't even take the time to clay bar the car in between the stages or
Yeah.
before polishing it.
I didn't do that. I would clay and just wax it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. If you want a paint correction, that's a different story. Or paint enhancement, different story. It's a different
Right.
package.
Besides the wash and then protection, depending on the protection applied, because also if you do a single stage is different from coating. Yep. Which is what makes this business kind of difficult, is there is a lot of variety. Not all details are created equal. What about market, just specialty work, engine, headlights, trim, and even just wheels? You know what? It's situational, case dependent. What I mean by that, dos segundos, is you will need to figure out what works where you live. I offered engine cleaning, engine detailing, whatever you want to call it. I did headlight restoration, trim restoration, wheels. I mean, that's just included.
Yeah.
My difference for me was based on the customer in the car, became a discussion on cleaning inside the wheel barrels versus not cleaning inside the wheel barrels. And engines, I learned that most people it's not even on the radar. When they think of detailing,
Yeah.
they just think of the interior and exterior.
Yeah.
I found that it's the people that know about or people that want their engines cleaned and detailed, they will ask you. As a rule, people like when I would ask them, like, "Oh, are you interested in having your engine detailed?" They're like, it was almost confusing to them.
Yeah.
So I just stopped asking, and I learned that anyone that's into it, they're going to ask me about it. Yes, just do specialized work. Yep, there's nothing wrong with it. Plan on doing that soon. Mobile headlight restoration. My add-on is windshield. Probably clean and strip is what he meant, and apply glass seal. I've been doing friends and family for practice. Yeah, dude, I'd say run with it. I mean, honestly, if it gets you off the fence and gets you started your own business, I mean, do it.
And
And then evolve with it.
yeah, and build confidence.
Yeah, and then your business will evolve with it naturally, where your customers will teach you stuff like, oh, hey, how much would you charge to just do the detail, or how much would you charge to do this or whatever, and you'll realize, you know what, there's actually more of a demand for this, and maybe I'll get away from doing that and I'll focus on this. So you will learn stuff, but you're never going to learn it unless you get out there and start doing it. Safety focused, easy, quick jobs, convenient for customer. Yeah, those are all winning benefits. And especially work can get you customers faster, and it's fast for you too, less taxing. Yeah. Everything has trade-offs. There's just nothing in life that doesn't. Yes, maybe I'll add simple one-step correction with an AIO and maybe ceramic coatings too. Depends on how far I want to take this. And you know what? Once you start doing it, Jimbo, you will probably very quickly realize how far you want to take it or not take it, because at the end of the day, it still is work. I don't love doing interiors.
Yeah.
You know what? I know interiors represent so many different challenges. They're tough. They really are, because it really is all about the details. And
Yeah.
interiors are made up of just countless details in the form of components and materials and nuances and crevices and seam lines and holes and vents, and go down the list.
Yeah, actually, really quick. Actually, it's funny you brought that up because I remember interiors were I always thought it was harder. Like it was more hard on your body. I thought.
Yeah, it
And
is.
exteriors I always thought was actually once I was done, got ready for the exteriors. I was actually happy. I was looking forward to it. And I know another person who only does exteriors, but he's a different type of business. Is Sam the Buffer?
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
he's really focused on
ex-
paint correction.
Paint correction. Yeah. Yeah. Wet
He's not even
sanding.
necessarily about exterior detailing. He's
No.
really about what old school mentality they call a rub and buff, where you rub it out, either with sanding paper or whatever. But it really is about paint correction.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like a different, complete different than
Yeah,
you and I. But anyways.
that's the point. This is just quick side jobs for me, but pay pretty well. Yeah. Remember during the 70s, 80s, we had single stage paint, so decontaminate wasn't that known. Very true. In fact, I don't even remember when I was first learned about the clay bar. It's like, wow, what? That was so counterintuitive, where I'm going to rub this stuff, this pliable stuff, and somehow it's going to pull or shear off these little particles that are stuck to the paint. So yes, I agree. Back in the day with single stage paint, it's weird because like single stage paint, it's almost like the particles were absorbed into the oxidation. So as you remove the oxidation, because single stage paint oxidizes very differently than clear coat. Clear coats do. So clear coats don't get like chalky and dull like single stage paint does. So yeah, we didn't use clay bars back then. We didn't worry about decontaminate. And there might be a part of that has to do with pollution. For example, do we have the same air pollutants today that existed back then? So you've got different tailpipe emissions that are coming out the tailpipe. So who knows? I just
Before
know
you
we didn't worry about it.
before you talk about this next comment, Darren, I was going to tell Jimbo. Jimbo, you can definitely mention any YouTube channel you want on here. We don't care. In fact, I'm totally for it. So we actually talk about different YouTubers on here multiple times. But go on, Darren. You can talk.
Why did you add that? Did I miss something, Sean?
Read the comment that just came up.
Oh, that's why you're preemptively telling me.
Yeah.
There's a magician on YouTube. I don't know if I can mention another channel, but this guy is a Michelangelo of rock chips and stuff like that, aiming for something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly who you're referring to, but I'm sure they exist. Guys like that where that is their specialty. I did rock chip repair, but I would never call myself like, the master of it. Once again, and that's where communication is king. I would clarify what my customers' expectations are, which when it comes to rock chip repair, most of them had unrealistic expectations because they do not understand the process of it. They think that somehow you're going to somehow either put some paint in that chip, airbrush it in, and somehow just smooth it in so it's perfect, and they'll never see it. And so they just have unrealistic expectations. So I had to learn how to talk to them about it. Why suddenly am I hearing music?
That's the
you?
music. That's why I play when we're getting close to the end.
Okay. Well, I know we already exceeded our hour anyways.
I know, but there's so many questions. So
yeah.
I just want to
no, it's cool. And
Uh,
that's the cue. Like, okay, party people, we're about to shut it down. When clear coat showed up, yeah, clear coat started showing up in the 80s, and it wasn't universal. Like they slowly walked it into the process. Different car manufacturers did it at different rates. So it was like, whoa, what's this clear coat stuff? Anyhow, POV, check it out. His skills to me are otherworldly. Interesting use of words. Maybe it's basic stuff to you. I doubt it. I suspect because that is a real skill set to be able to really get. Of course, with that said, is you can hide a lot with video. I've seen it in my own videos. I've seen it in other videos where I know enough to know that in real life, that's not what it's going to look like. So there is that. Code 8 clay bar, yeah. I mean, I've done the research on the clay bar and who first invented it, but I don't remember. It's been too long. I think Jason Kilmer's name's come up before.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's British though, or from UK, which is pretty much the same thing. Rub and buff. He does headlights, rock chips, fills in clear coat into scratches. Cool.
All right. So what I want to do before we take off is the webpage I have up right now, Darren. I think we should talk about it next Saturday.
Okay.
And then we
save
can
it for next week.
Yes, we can continue this subject for next Saturday because you can talk about this topic forever. So
pretty much.
So I figure we can.
I could talk about anything forever, Sean.
I know you can. You can talk about the white wall next to you forever. So
pretty much.
So yeah. So when this is new, so I didn't tell you. I forgot to tell you this part. When you play the music, is a cue to wrap it up.
All right. Sounds good. And I'll take the cue. So all right, you guys. Thanks for tuning in yet again. And with that said, give it a like on the way out. And we'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. And thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Darren. Later, guys.